of the war, and a lot has happened in the last 24 hours. Before I tell you about the bombings, let me take you through an ultimatum that has been given by Donald Trump. He had an epic meltdown just a few hours back over the biggest choke point in the raging Middle East war, the Strait of Hormuz. The US president has set a new deadline for Iran to open up the Strait of Hormuz and has warned that if Iran does not do so, then US will unleash hell upon the country. That deadline expires at 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday, Indian Standard Time. So all eyes will be on that. Next few hours are very crucial as the deadline has been given by US President Donald Trump. Let me get you more perspective and go across to my colleague Mayank, who's been tracking all the details. Mayank, we are now in the final few hours before a possible escalation in the West Asia war. The clock is ticking and the next few hours could decide whether this war further escalates or not. A deadline has been given by Donald Trump. Give us more details on this.
Yes, interestingly, but then going by the past, there had been multiple deadlines which were issued and they were not followed. So in this case, let us hope that something better happens and diplomacy takes its good part and things are resolved in a way. Otherwise, the way the things are coming up, maybe the bridges and the talks of by the US president of destroying the bridges or civilian establishments would be creating major problems for Iran, and in that case that could unleash a kind of a totally different and difficult war and time ahead, because Iran has been able to successfully target the region and in fact to the extent even Israel, and as we had been on ground in Israel, we had been getting an understanding that Iran would be keeping certain weaponry or certain equipments or certain ammunitions which might create mayhem or might create problems in the future. So going by all that, let us hope that things turn better. And as I would need to correct myself, because in earlier program I had said 5:30 a.m. It is 6:30 a.m. as you had corrected.
Right.
So we need to wait for Wednesday.
Absolutely, and the next few hours could decide whether the war further escalates or not, because as you also mentioned, the first deadline was for 48 hours. That was in the last week of March. That was further extended to 5 more days and 10 more days of extension that was given. That deadline expires on Wednesday, 6:30 Indian Standard Time is what we're learning. Stay on with us. I'll come back to you once again. We have a reaction coming in from Iran as well. Very interestingly, even as Donald Trump is preparing to up the attack on Iran, the country is not keen on backing down just yet. Iran's culture minister has dismissed US President Donald Trump's latest threat, calling him unstable, delusional figure. He has said that Iranian society generally does not pay attention to his statements, as they believe that he lacks personal and verbal balance and shifts between different positions. And this has come after, remember, Donald Trump had said that he would strike Iran's power plants and bridge on Tuesday if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed to the marine traffic. But now Iran has said that the Strait of Hormuz, as they have been saying in the last 1 month, is only open to the world but closed to Iran enemies. So that has been the stand as far as Iran is concerned. Coming back to you, Mayank, once again, Iran is not backing down either. Tell us what happens if Iran does not open the Strait of Hormuz, because there are 2 main demands by Donald Trump: reopen the Strait of Hormuz and make a deal. That he's saying that, and this is what he said to the US media, that a deal will be arrived at by Monday, that is by today. But as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned, do tell us what will really happen if Iran refuses to open the Strait of Hormuz by the deadline.
So any side which has an upper hand in an area, it would never loosen that strength over that. And in this case, Strait of Hormuz has remained a strategic tool for Iran. And they had been effectively calling the shots in the sense that which vessel would be moving out from there or which might be coming to that area, including the civil and commercial vehicles, vessels. And which means there's a big naval base of US in Bahrain side, but still the control has been effectively into the hands of Iran. What it aggravates the issues is in terms of Strait of Hormuz is energy security for lots of countries, including the biggest continent, which is Asia, and including our own country, which is India, which which gets almost 20% of its energy, which includes petroleum products and gas from that side. And also let's talk about helium, the fertilizer products and all. It also flows from that side only. So, and now you also mentioned about Bab al-Mandeb. I mean, and also people are talking about things would spread to Bab al-Mandeb side also, which is also a carriage of almost 12% of the fuel and energy takes place from that side. So what we see is actually it might turn into a bigger problem for the world and encompass the whole globe as it has already done. I mean, it is the masses which are suffering out of that. Having said that, if it is military, then things would turn really bad, as I had been talking about and we had been bringing out, is that Iran effectively is deploying and also shooting the missiles to the region of Middle East and up to Israel.
Right.
And time again it has been creating destruction at will, even after the claims and multiple claims that the US and Israel had been able to destroy the capabilities and capacity of Iran to launch not only missiles, they would have definitely destroyed the equipments and systems of Air Force, which is Iranian Air Force and Navy, but not really when it comes to missile firing, because even till today and yesterday we had been seeing incidents wherein UAE was shot with missile by Iran and missiles reached Tel Aviv in Israel also.
Absolutely, because even as Donald Trump is preparing to up the attack, Iran is not keen on backing down just yet. So it remains to be seen what really happens in the next few hours. Let's tell you more about the Strait of Hormuz. That is a waterway that Iran is using essentially as a pressure point as far as the war is concerned. And now in the latest, we're learning that Iran has imposed a toll on the Strait of Hormuz. That means that the ships are now required Iran's clearance codes. Some ships will have to even pay fee in yuan, that is the Chinese currency, and Tehran will be in fact having a full control as far as the traffic in the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. That is a toll booth system that is now they have come up with. Some ships have already paid reportedly in yuan, that is the Chinese currency, through though many rely on a diplomatic intervention as well. Because remember, Iran has said that only friendly and non-volatile countries, vessel belonging to those countries, will be allowed to pass through as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. Mayank, tell us more about this toll booth system that Tehran has come out with, because they're using the Strait of Hormuz as a pressure point. Some ships have already paid the fee, reportedly in the Chinese currency. Give us more details on this.
Yes, interestingly, it becomes another line of discussion, because people had been talking that this entire move is against petrodollars. I mean, the petroleum products or the dealing in petrols with the help of dollars or in terms of dollars. So what you see is actually kind of a shift in that case, if it is true, because we don't have, India has been dealing the matter diplomatically. So there has been no claims like India has been paying the Iran in some sort of a toll or not. But what we had been repeating is that it also brings out the fact that Strait of Hormuz remains a strategic tool for Iran, and effectively they are able to control the traffic, civil and commercial, and not military, because this is what they had been saying, that they won't be allowing military traffic to reach into that area, which at the narrowest point is 21 kilometers. So that makes things difficult further. And if the change be what it is being talked about, it needs further to be probed, because which all countries, if it is friendly, and as Iran had been claiming, or as the claims had been coming out, they'll be allowing them to move. And if they are charging tolls from friendly countries, that also becomes an issue. So we have to effectively see which all tolls are being paid, which all countries are paying tolls, what is the kind of method is being deployed or employed by Iran so as to allow the vessels to move out of that narrow passage.
Absolutely, because Iran has imposed a toll on the Strait of Hormuz. It has been saying in the last few days that only countries which are friendly, that includes China, India, Pakistan, Iraq, and also Russia, their vessels will be allowed to pass. As far as vessels and the ships are concerned, we're learning that they are paying some sort of money, the fees in the Chinese currency. So Donald Trump, Mayank, wants the Strait of Hormuz to be reopened, a deal to be made. Talk to us about the Backchannel talks that are currently underway, because there are several reports that Backchannel talks have hit a road block. But Donald Trump, on the other hand, is saying that there's a possibility of arriving at some sort of a deal by Monday, and this is what he has told US media. So on one hand, we're learning that as far as the talks are concerned, they have hit a roadblock, but on the other side, Donald Trump is quite confident that he will in fact arrive at a deal with Iran by today.
It really sounds positive, because if something happens and some kind of a midpoint is found out between the sides and things subside, it would be good for everyone, not only for these three countries, which is the US, Israel and Iran, but also for the region, for the whole globe, because supplies have dwindled in so many ways and people are seeing the pressures everywhere, including India. Having said that, we need to talk about Pakistan in that case, because Pakistan had touted about its mediation and it was saying that they had been preparing grounds for talks between the US and Iran, but which failed. Iran saying that they were not ready for the conditions. That also means that Pakistan was not able to look after the well-being or midpoints in such a way that it was helping both Iran and the US. And Iran effectively found that things were not going as they wanted, because initially 15-point conditions were put up by the US, and then after that counter 5 conditions were put by Iran, and things were supposed to come somewhere in between that only. Pakistan was not able to effectively help in that, or help bring the negotiation to the level which was acceptable to either sides. The other countries have now come into being, and they are trying to, which includes Turkey also, to effectively mediate. But let us hope, and it sounds really positive that the president of the US is saying that there would be some kind of a solution found.
Absolutely, and this is what US President Donald Trump has told US media, that there is a possibility of arriving at a deal by Monday, because there are two demands: reopen the Strait of Hormuz and make a deal. So that deadline will in fact expire in just a few hours from now. Stay on with us. In fact, we spoke about the Strait of Hormuz. Let's tell our viewers about Bab al-Mandeb. Now, that's another crucial waterway, a choke point that could likely be blocked by Iran, is what we're learning, because this is where Yemen is, and we're learning that in the last few days, Houthis, a rebel group from Yemen, they have also been attacking Israel. So there is also a possibility. This is right here is the Strait of Hormuz, and this is where Bab al-Mandeb is, that this crucial waterway could also be blocked. Let me tell you more about it, what exactly this is. This is a key strait, a waterway located on the Red Sea, as you can see on the screen. It connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden, situated between Djibouti and, as you can see right here, and also Yemen, a very crucial and a very narrow waterway, just like the Strait of Hormuz. Most importantly, it accounts for 14% of the global trade, and that is why if it is blocked in the coming days, it will affect the trade as far as global trade is concerned. Major transit route for the fossil fuel, and that is why it holds a lot of importance. Transits 4.2 million barrel oil per day, and it could block crude bound for Russia, and that is the impact of the closure. If it is blocked in the coming days, it will force the vessels to take a longer route, which is all the way down from there. That will take a lot of time for the vessels to pass through, and will lead to skyrocketing of the oil prices as well. So in the last few days, we have seen that Iran has been using this particular Strait of Hormuz as a pressure point. But if Bab al-Mandeb, this is a very narrow waterway, if this is blocked in the coming days, this will affect the global route once again. We'll have to see how it will affect India. But remember, as far as the Houthi, that is a rebel group from Yemen, is concerned, they have been attacking Israel in the last few days, raising a lot of concern whether or not in the coming days this particular strait will also be blocked. Let us tell you more about as far as the Bab al-Mandeb is concerned. This is also a choke point. What could Iran do? It involved pro-Iran Houthi rebel base in Yemen. As we were telling you, there were several attacks by the rebels there on Israel in the last few days. They recently threatened to target the Strait, and in fact, they also disrupted this transit during the Gaza war in 2023. So it was blocked 3 years back. So there's a high possibility that another strait could be used as a pressure point during the war. Vessels linked to Israel targeted in Houthi attacks, and vessels struck by missile, drones and explosive boats in this particular area. So in 2023, there were missile attack, and this particular waterway was blocked by Houthi, a rebel group backed by Iran. And this is as far as Bab al-Mandeb is concerned. Let us show you more, in fact, map on that. This, as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned, it is pathway for 40% of the globe crude for India. India receives 90% of the LPG via the Strait of Hormuz, and that is why it holds a lot of importance. Transits 70 to 80% of oil and LNG to Asia. That is a key waterway that has been blocked for the world, but not for India. India, Pakistan, China, Russia and Iraq, their vessels are able to pass through it. But as far as Bab al-Mandeb is concerned, that is something that could be blocked in the coming days. Major transit route for 5% of the global oil products. It is a transit route for 80% of the Indian merchandise to European Union, and this is a way, in fact, the merchandise takes to go all the way to there, and that is why perhaps if it is blocked, it is also going to affect India as well. And that is the reason why all eyes now are also on Bab al-Mandeb, especially after there was attack by the Houthi rebels on Israel in the last few days. So that is why it holds a lot of importance. In fact, we have another breaking update coming